The letter from the Anderson Family Foundation was exactly what I expected. A cease and desist demand, threatening legal action if I continued using my family name for my unauthorized charitable activities. Never mind that I was, in fact, an Anderson. Never mind that the youth shelter I opened was doing actual good in the community. All that mattered to my parents was that I wasn't following their approved script for proper charitable giving. Proper meaning galas and golf tournaments, photo ops with oversized checks, and carefully vetted recipients who wouldn't make their wealthy donors uncomfortable. Not a shelter for LGBT plus youth who'd been thrown out of their homes, run by their own daughter who dared to use her trust fund for something meaningful. I set the letter aside and looked around my office at Hope Harbor Youth Center. The walls were covered with thank you notes from kids we'd helped, photos of successful transitions to housing and education, news clippings about our job training program. 3 years of real impact, tangible change in young lives. Bad news? Maria, our head counselor, asked from the doorway. Just my parents being themselves, I replied, managing a smile. Apparently we're damaging their foundation's reputation by actually helping people instead of just talking about it. She snorted. As opposed to their reputation for throwing fancy parties where rich people congratulate themselves on their generosity. Those parties raise millions, I pointed out, though we both knew where most of that money really went. Speaking of which, their annual gala is next week. Got another invitation. Are you going this time? I picked up the glossy invitation. Haven't decided. Last year they had security escort me out when I tried to present our program for potential funding. Yeah, but last year you didn't have proof of what they've been doing with the donations, Maria said carefully. Things are different now. She was right. Things were very different, thanks to an unexpected ally inside my parents' foundation. Someone who'd been gathering evidence of financial misconduct for years, waiting for the right moment to expose it. My phone buzzed with a text from that very person. Board meeting just ended. They've done it again. Time to move forward. I took a deep breath, thinking back to how this all started. 3 years ago, I'd been the perfect Anderson daughter, working at the family foundation, planning charity events, playing my role in their carefully orchestrated world of philanthropic theater. Then I met Jamie. He was 16, sleeping in the park across from my luxury apartment building. When security tried to chase him away, I intervened. Learned his story over hot chocolate at an all-night diner. Parents had kicked him out for being gay, turned their backs on their own child in the name of religious values. I tried to help through official channels. Brought his case to the foundation, proposed a program for homeless LGBT plus youth. The response was swift and brutal. We don't support that kind of lifestyle choice, Mom had said delicately. Think of our donors' sensibilities. These are children. I protested. Thrown out of their homes, living on the streets. Then they should make better choices, Dad cut in. The foundation's mission is to support respectable charitable causes, not enable deviancy. I'd walked out of that meeting knowing I could never go back to playing their game. A week later, I withdrew my entire trust fund, nearly $2 million that I'd inherited from my grandmother, used it to buy an abandoned community center, renovate it into a shelter, and start doing the work that actually needed doing. My parents' response was predictable. They cut me off completely. No more access to family money, no invitations to society events, no acknowledgement of my existence except to send lawyers after me for misusing the Anderson name. But they couldn't touch the trust fund. Grandma had made sure of that, placing it entirely in my control once I turned 25. Almost like she'd known I'd need that independence someday. What my parents didn't know was that their perfect world of high society philanthropy was built on lies. And I had proof. Come look at this, I called to Maria, pulling up the files our inside source had sent. Remember how the foundation claimed they spent $6 million on youth programs last year? She leaned over my shoulder, examining the spreadsheets. Let me guess. Creative accounting. More like outright fraud. They counted their entire gala budget as youth program expenses because they had a children's choir perform. The actual program funding was less than $100,000. And the rest? Salaries, expense accounts, administrative costs that somehow include my mother's country club membership and Dad's new yacht. I scrolled through more documents. 5 years of this, all carefully documented. Money that was supposed to help people being used as a personal slush fund. By your parents, by the entire board. They're all in on it, all benefiting from it, using charitable donations to fund their lifestyles while pretending to help the community. I closed the laptop, feeling sick. No wonder they were so opposed to actual charitable work. It would expose their whole scheme. Maria was quiet for a moment. So what are you going to do? Before I could answer, there was a commotion from the front desk. One of our youngest residents, a 14-year-old named Tyler, had arrived in tears. His parents had spotted him at his part-time job, threatened to have him arrested for stealing the clothes he'd been wearing when he left home. I spent the next hour with him and our legal advocate, documenting everything, making sure he felt safe. Watching him finally relax, knowing he had support and protection, made my decision clear. I'm going to the gala, I told Maria later, and I'm taking every piece of evidence we have. They'll try to stop you, she warned, like last year. Last year I was just their embarrassing daughter who helped the wrong kind of people. This year, I held up a flash drive our source had delivered. This year I'm the whistleblower who can bring down their entire foundation. My phone buzzed again. Another text from our inside source. They're planning something big, moving money offshore. Need to act fast. I touched the flash drive, thinking of Tyler, of Jamie, of every kid who found safety at Hope Harbor while my parents' foundation pretended to care about young people in need. Time to show the donors where their money really goes, I said quietly. What I didn't know then was that my parents' financial misconduct went far deeper than even our source knew. What would unfold at that gala would expose not just charitable fraud, but a decades-long web of deception that would shake Atlanta's entire philanthropic community to its core. The Anderson Family Foundation's annual gala was in full swing when I arrived. The city's elite milled around the grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton, congratulating themselves on their generosity while sipping $1,000-a-plate champagne, all paid for with charitable donations, of course. Status check, I whispered into my phone's earpiece. All set, came Maria's voice. TV crews are standing by. Anonymous tip about a major charitable fraud story got their attention. Foundation's network? We're in, our tech expert confirmed. Ready to display the evidence on every screen in the ballroom on your signal. I adjusted my evening gown, bought with Shelter Thrift Store funds, just to make a point, and scanned the room. My parents held court near the stage, Mom resplendent in designer clothes that probably cost more than our shelter's monthly food budget. Board members clustered in small groups, all wearing self-satisfaction like expensive jewelry. Then I spotted him, Robert Chen, the foundation's CFO, and our inside source. He gave me a slight nod, patting his jacket pocket where I knew he kept copies of every incriminating document. Sarah, my mother's voice cut through the crowd. I don't recall seeing your name on the guest list. Funny thing about being an Anderson, I replied smoothly. People tend to assume I belong here. You gave up that privilege. Dad joined us, keeping his voice low, when you chose to associate our name with your alternative charity work. You mean actually helping people instead of stealing from them. I matched his quiet tone. Speaking of which, how's the new yacht? The one bought with foundation funds marked for youth education programs. Their faces went carefully blank. I don't know what you think you know, Mom started, but I cut her off. I know everything. Every misappropriated donation. Every fake program. Every dollar that went to personal expenses instead of charitable work. I held up my phone, and in about 10 minutes, so will everyone else. Dad grabbed my arm, fingers digging in painfully. You're making a mistake. Think about what this would do to the family name. I am thinking about it. I'm thinking about making it mean something real again. Security, Mom called out discreetly. We have an uninvited guest. Actually, Robert stepped forward. She was invited. By me. As the foundation's CFO, I have that authority. Robert? Mom's perfect smile faltered. What are you doing? My job, finally. He turned to address the gathering crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, as CFO of the Anderson Family Foundation, I have a duty to report financial misconduct. Would everyone please direct their attention to the screens? Before my parents could stop him, every monitor in the ballroom lit up with spreadsheets, bank statements, and damning emails. 5 years of systematic fraud laid bare. As you can see, I took over, my voice carrying across the suddenly silent room. Less than 5% of your donations have actually gone to charitable causes. The rest has funded private jets, luxury vacations, personal shopping sprees, all carefully hidden behind fake program expenses. She's lying. Mom tried to grab the microphone, but Robert blocked her path. Every document is authenticated, he announced. I've provided copies to the IRS, the State Attorney General's office, and the media. It's over. Dad lunged for the podium. Think about what you're doing. We've built relationships with these donors for decades. Relationships built on lies. I cut in. While real people suffered, while kids lived on the streets, you used charitable donations to fund your lifestyle. And you're so perfect? Mom sneered. Living off your trust fund, playing savior to those children. You mean like Tyler? I gestured to the doors, where Maria was leading in a group of Hope Harbor residents, kids in neat clothes, heads held high. Or Jamie. The young man who started this journey stepped forward, now a college student and peer counselor. Want to tell our donors how you refused to help them? How you said they should make better choices while you stole millions meant for youth programs? The ballroom erupted in chaos. Donors demanded answers, board members tried to distance themselves, and reporters who'd been quietly gathering evidence rushed to get statements. Then a voice cut through the noise. I've seen enough. Eleanor Whitmore, the city's biggest philanthropist, made her way to the stage. She donated millions to the foundation over the years, trusting them to manage her charitable giving. Sarah, she addressed me directly, tell me about Hope Harbor. What do you actually do for these young people? For the next 15 minutes, I explained our programs. The emergency shelter, education support, job training, mental health services. Real help for real needs with documented outcomes and transparent finances. And your overhead costs? She asked. 12%, I said proudly. Every other dollar goes directly to services. We publish our complete financials on our website, and we're open for audit anytime. She turned to my parents, who had the grace to look ashamed. I've given this foundation over $10 million in the past 5 years. Money I thought was helping young people in need. Instead, it bought you boats and beach houses while children slept on the streets. She faced the crowd. I'm calling for the immediate dissolution of the Anderson Family Foundation Board. Furthermore, I'm redirecting my charitable giving to Hope Harbor Youth Center, under Sarah's leadership. The room exploded again, but this time with different energy. Other donors stepped forward, demanding to learn more about Hope Harbor. Reporters gathered around our residents, listening to their stories. Board members slipped away, already calling their lawyers. My parents stood alone, their perfect world crumbling around them. Was it worth it? I asked them quietly, was the money worth betraying everything charity is supposed to mean? We were building something, Dad said weakly, a legacy. No, I corrected him, you were stealing one. The real legacy is what happens next. 1 year later, Hope Harbor has expanded to 3 locations. The dissolved foundation's assets, once recovered through legal action, funded a network of youth services across the city. Eleanor Whitmore chairs our new board, insisting on complete transparency and actual impact metrics. My parents avoided jail through a plea deal, but they'll spend years paying back what they stole. They're not speaking to me, but I hear Mom's been volunteering at a soup kitchen as part of her community service. Dad, humbled and stripped of his social position, recently asked to tour Hope Harbor. Why did you do it this way? He asked during the visit, watching our residents attend GED classes and job training. You could have exposed us quietly, worked out a deal. Because it wasn't just about you, I explained. It was about changing how charity works in this city. No more galas where rich people congratulate themselves while nothing really changes. No more fake programs and diverted funds. Real help for real people. Yesterday, Tyler graduated high school. He's headed to college on a scholarship, planning to study social work. Jamie's running our peer counseling program while finishing his own degree. Every success story, every life change, proves that authentic charity matters more than social position or family names. The new sign outside our expanded headquarters reads Hope Harbor Community Foundation. No family names, just a simple statement of purpose. Our donor wall celebrates contributions of all sizes, from Eleanor Whitmore's millions to the weekly volunteers who give their time and heart. Last week, I received a letter from my grandmother's old lawyer. She'd left one final bequest. To be delivered only after I'd proven myself worthy of the Anderson name by giving it real meaning. Inside was a note she'd written years ago. My darling girl, I always knew you'd see through the facade of society charity. Your heart was too honest, your spirit too true. I'm leaving you this money not because you're an Anderson, but because you'll use it to be something better. A force for real change. The check was substantial, but it wasn't about the money. It was about validation from the one family member who'd understood that true legacy isn't built on social status or fancy galas, but on actually helping others. Today, I'm meeting with other foundation leaders to establish new standards for charitable giving in our city. Real transparency, real impact measurements, real change. The old guard is gone, replaced by people who understand that philanthropy isn't about tax write-offs and social climbing. It's about making a genuine difference in people's lives. Sometimes the greatest act of charity is exposing those who abuse it. Sometimes real family legacy means tearing down false ones to build something true. And sometimes the kids society wants to throw away end up teaching us all what really matters. Hope Harbor's next fundraiser won't be a gala. It'll be a community festival where donors can meet the people they're helping, where success stories share their journeys, where real change is celebrated without pretense or pride. Because true charity, like true family, is built on honesty, transparency, and genuine care for others. Everything else is just an expensive show signifying nothing. And we've all had enough of shows.